Digital marketing can sometimes feel like this huge, complicated maze, right? Well, today, we're going to demystify it. We're going to show you that it's really just a buildable plan, a set of clear steps that you can actually follow to get results. Okay, let's dive right in.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the absolute core blueprint. Then we'll get into laying a solid foundation for your plan. After that, we'll map out the customer's journey, figure out how to measure success, and finally, we'll look at the common pitfalls you definitely want to avoid. Let's get started. All right, first step, the core blueprint. Before we even think about going digital, we have to master the fundamentals. And that all starts with the classic 4 Ps. So let's start with a really basic question. What are the 4 essential ingredients for any marketing strategy? These have been the bedrock of marketing for decades. And trust me, they're just as relevant today in our digital world as they were back in the days of print ads.
And here they are, the famous 4 Ps. It all begins with your product. What is it? And more importantly, what problem does it solve? That directly impacts your price, which is always a balancing act between your costs, what competitors are doing, and the value you provide. Then you need a place where customers can actually get it. Is it online, in a store, through an app? And finally, promotion. That's how you tell the world about the other 3. Get these building blocks right, and you've got a solid base for everything else.
Okay, on to section 2, laying your foundation. Because look, a great plan isn't built on guesswork. It's built on solid analysis and having crystal clear goals. The very first step you have to take in planning is analysis. You really need a 360-degree view of your entire world. A classic and seriously effective tool for this is the SWOT analysis. That's where you take an honest look at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This gives you a clear strategic picture of where you stand before you even think about making a move.
But analysis isn't just about you and your business. It's about who you're talking to. And that's where the buyer persona comes in. The whole idea here is to create a semi-fictional character. We're not talking about a vague demographic. We're talking about someone with a name, a job, maybe even a story.
Here's the difference in action, and it's a big one. A target audience is broad, like a whole sports team. Working mothers age 25-35. But a buyer persona is one specific player on that team. Penny, a 28-year-old lawyer with 2 kids who hates waiting in line. See the difference? All of a sudden, it's so much easier to imagine how to talk to Penny than to that vague group. That specificity, it's marketing gold. So once you know you're talking to Penny, you need to set your goals. And not just any goals, SMART goals. This framework is a game changer. Your goals have to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. This is what turns a vague wish like "I want to get more customers" into an actual, actionable target like increase online signups from busy lawyers like Penny by 20% in the next 3 months.
All right, on to section 3, guiding the customer journey. So we've got our foundation set. Now, how do we guide people like Penny from being a complete stranger to a happy customer? Well, we use something called a conversion funnel.
A conversion funnel is really just a simple model that helps you visualize this entire journey. Think of it like a path. At the top, it's really wide, with tons of people who are just starting to realize they have a problem. As they move down that path, it gets narrower, but the people who stick around become more and more qualified and interested in what you have to offer.
Now, this journey is usually broken down into 3 main stages, and marketers have these kind of funny acronyms for them: TOFU, MOFU, and BOFU. That just stands for top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. At each stage, the customer's mindset is totally different, which means our marketing tactics have to change right along with them.
At the very top, in the TOFU stage, the goal is pure awareness and education. You're talking to a cold audience, people who have no idea who you are. So your job isn't to sell, it's to be helpful. It's to attract their attention with things like useful blog posts, downloadable ebooks, and informative videos that answer their first-level questions. Okay, so next up is the middle of the funnel, or MOFU. Here, you're talking to a warm audience. They know they have a problem, and now they're actively looking for solutions. Your goal here is to build trust and show them why you're the best choice. This is where you bring out more specific content, like in-depth case studies, product demos, and feature comparisons that really position you as the expert.
And finally, we get to the bottom of the funnel, BOFU. At this point, your audience is hot. They are ready to make a decision. So the goal is super simple: drive action. This is the time for high-intent tactics, like offering a free trial, a special discount, maybe a sales consultation,
or showing them powerful testimonials to give them that final nudge over the finish line.
Now for a super critical piece of this puzzle, Section 4, Measuring Success. In digital marketing, there's a saying, if you can't measure it, it's just a guess. So let's talk about metrics and KPIs.
So what's the difference between these two? It's simple, but it's really important. Metrics are all the individual data points you can track. Website visits, social media likes, impressions, you name it. There are hundreds of them. But KPIs, key performance indicators, those are the handful of metrics you choose because they're the most critical to hitting your SMART goals. They're the ones that tell you if you're actually winning.
Cost KPIs are all about efficiency. They answer really important questions, like how much did it cost us to get one new paying customer? That's your CPA, or cost per acquisition. Or how much did it cost just to get their email address? That's your CPL, your cost per lead. These numbers tell you exactly how hard your money is working for you. Of course, it's not all about the cost. Engagement rate tells you if people actually care about your content. Conversion rate tells you if they're taking the actions you want them to take. But the real game changer here is customer lifetime value, or LTV. This metric predicts the total profit you'll make from a single customer over time. It completely shifts your focus from a one-time sale to building a long-term relationship.
And if you want to see the power of getting all this right, just look at email marketing. For every single dollar spent, the average return on investment is $40. 40! That is what happens when a well-executed tactic is measured and optimized perfectly.
All right, for our final section, let's look at what not to do. Think of Section 5 as a rapid-fire guide to the common traps that can completely derail your entire plan.
Okay, first, launching without metrics is like flying blind. Second, misunderstanding the customer journey. That's trying to sell when they just want to learn. Third, sending one-size-fits-all emails that don't talk to anyone in particular. Fourth, just guessing what works instead of A/B testing your pages. And maybe the biggest trap of all, focusing so much on the sale that you forget about the customer. Any one of these can be fatal to your plan.
So, here's the crucial point to take away from all this. Your marketing plan isn't something you write once, frame, and put on a shelf. It's a living map, not a stone tablet. It needs to be constantly reviewed, updated, and adapted as you learn from your data. So the real question is, are you ready to explore?